For those of you that have followed me for a while, know that I very much speak to the idea of combining modern and retro gaming sensibilities. While the industry moves to innovate and push technology forward, looking back at the classics of yesterday, understanding what made them great and improving upon them is something that I can't preach enough about. Enter Iconoclasts. You know that game I did an episode of First Cut for about a year ago because I was enjoying it so much? I guess it should come to no surprise that it ended up on my Game of the Year list. Iconoclasts is a 2D action platformer Metroidvania, and it's a game that doesn't simply borrow the mechanics made for the Metroidvania genre, but harmonizes them with gameplay that flows so well that the world around you starts to melt away. Now, I'll try to keep this short and to the point, as most of what I'll be saying here has also been said in that episode of First Cut. Iconoclasts establishes a colorful world that hides dark and devious religious undertones. A world where its inhabitants worship their gods out of nothing more than fear of divine retribution. The idea that only specific people have the right to speak directly to the god they worship, and that should the day of reckoning come, only those chosen have the right to survive. And don't let the game's whimsical art style fool you. It can be disturbing, it can be violent, and it can be brutal. I won't go into any more detail than that, as the game's story is compelling enough that it should be experienced on its own. But let's talk about the part where you actually play the game. Iconoclast comes off as a love letter to fans of old school action platformers and Metroidvanias. What immediately stood out to me was just how snappy and fluid the controls are. It's a game that moves and moves quickly and just feels great to play. Impacts from attacks are precise and meaty, whether it be shots from your gun or strikes from your wrench. Everything has a sense of flow to it that quickly gives off the impression that a lot of time was spent making the moment-to-moment gameplay feel natural and engaging. Puzzles are brain-teasing without being unnecessarily complex, while also showing the player exactly what their abilities can do, and then allowing them to figure out how it applies to the puzzle that lies before them. It's a game that never makes you feel like you're being shortchanged in some way, and it's very good at helping you understand why it is you messed up or why you died, especially when it comes to boss battles. And boss battles are another place where this game truly shines. Each boss is not only a test of skill, but your ability to problem solve. While every boss has a gimmick to exploit, the methods in which you expose their weaknesses is actually part of the fun. And there's something to be said about replaying boss fights with the knowledge you've gained about them, just to see how quickly you can beat them. They are an integral part of a Metroidvania experience, and Iconoclast doesn't fail to deliver on the 20+ bosses in the game, each with their own unique visual style, attacks, and yes, lore. The game's environments just scream diversity and complexity, as each area totes its own unique visual style. I found myself always excited to see just where I was going next after each major story beat or boss fight. The game takes you from the strangely shaped greenery of the open fields and forests to sandy deserts, underwater bases, and much, much more. The bright and colorful art style also accentuates the desire to explore and see everything the environments have to offer. It's all finely tuned and crafted so that the player never feels like the game is fighting against them or their enjoyment of the experience. Overall, Iconoclast is a game that's overflowing with carefully crafted design and character. It's an experience I find myself going back to just for the flow of gameplay alone, if not for the story, and each time I find myself getting caught up on how great the game feels to play. It's something that is a bit of a lost commodity with the industry's drive for games to become more cinematic, and also makes Iconoclasts a no-brainer for one of my favorite games of the year.